I want to introduce what's happening tonight. So on any given week, you know, the challenge is to synthesize what's going on in the world, you know, in the wider world and in the Torah portion, and kind of make sense of it spiritually. That's our task every week. But some weeks we actually know far in advance what we're going to be talking about because it's a week that's been claimed by a Jewish organization. And this week is one of those weeks. And the reason is because this is the Parsha in the Torah. This is the section of the weekly Torah reading, Parshat Mishpatim, that has been designated Repro Shabbat, like the Shabbat where we talk about the Jewish commitment to reproductive rights and freedom because of a particular verse that the National Council of Jewish Women claimed, but really has always been there and is the reason why the Jewish tradition is so unusually committed to bodily autonomy, especially for a tradition as ancient as the Jewish tradition is. And so the National Council of Jewish Women for the past few years, actually before the overturning of Roe v. Wade, identified this as a week on the calendar for us to talk about this issue as a Jewish community all over the country and even world, when I think as the movement to ban and outlaw reproductive freedom became more and more ascendant, and so this became only even more important after Roe v. Wade was overturned. This is the week when there's a particular verse in the Torah that basically makes clear the Jewish tradition considers the life of the mother to be absolutely primary, and that we know how intense, personal, and serious the decision to end a pregnancy is for any person. And in the Jewish tradition, that is a decision made between a woman or the person carrying the baby, a partner if there is one, family, God, tradition, doctor, period. As in to say not the government interfering one way or the other. In fact, after Roe v. Wade was overturned, there were synagogues and rabbis in Florida that filed a brief challenging the courts, saying that it actually challenged the religious freedom of Jewish people to make it not possible for Jews to observe the way that we observe our tradition, which is to say, at any point in a pregnancy, obviously it is ideal to do it as early as possible, but in the Jewish tradition, if at any point the life of the mother is threatened, the life of the person carrying that child is always given primacy. So we're very pro-life in that way, meaning the life of the person who exists in the world already. And so this is an issue that I just grew up understanding Judaism to be pro-choice, period. I didn't really learn why until much later in life, the verses in the Torah, which you're welcome to go and read. But I think the really important thing is that we don't just know this, we talk about this. We bring this into discourse. This becomes not something that anyone feels ashamed to talk about or doesn't know who to turn to when facing this kind of a decision or situation, but actually we have these kinds of conversations and they become not scary. And it's really powerful when individuals are willing to share their own experience and when organizations come forward to help people not be afraid to, do what they need to do to live, to claim their lives and live them and have children at the right time in the right way when they are ready if they wish. So I want to introduce Alex Harity, who works here at Mishkan, who's got her own story, and then Alicia Hurtado from the Chicago Abortion Fund, who's going to share with us about the work of that organization. And this is an issue I know that is so dear to so many in our community. Elizabeth Posner sitting over here. We have many leaders in the, I would say, pro-choice and reproductive rights movement in Illinois and in America in our community. They have spoken on this Shabbat and on other weekends. And so it's an issue I know that we're all really committed to and grateful to be hearing from you from tonight. So, Alex, take it away.
I never thought that doing an undergraduate theater program entirely in the round would pay off, but wow, those student loans are looking real good right now. Hi, my name is Alex, and yes, I am the project manager here at MishCon. If you've encountered any weird issues with our WebCal or Shul Cloud in the last 6 months, I'm so sorry. That was probably me. I'm here at MishCon after spending the last 8 years in Austin, Texas, infamously called the Blueberry in Texas's Tomato Soup by current Lieutenant Governor Rick Perry. When I tell people that I voluntarily chose to move to Texas after growing up in Wisconsin, actually about an hour and a half north of here, I get the same reaction, a very sincere, well-meaning, why? Believe me, no one knew what to do with my decision to commit to a university in Texas. I spent most of my days hearing about how idiotic Texas was. Texas and its many secession threats were even a running joke in my AP US history class in high school. Now, on what's known as Repro Shabbat is the perfect time to answer that emphatic why. On June 25th, 2013, then Texas State Senator Wendy Davis performed a filibuster to block Texas Senate Bill 5, a proposal to ban abortions after 20 weeks of pregnancy, required physicians to have hospital admitting privileges within 30 miles of an abortion facility, required abortions, even drug-induced ones, to be performed in an ambulatory surgery center, and required doctors to administer drugs that induced abortion in person. This was a move by Texas Republicans to try and hinder abortion access under the guise of caring about the health and safety of women. Texas is huge. It's double the size of Germany and slightly larger than France. This would have dwindled the number of abortion clinics from 42 to 5. 2 in Houston, 1 in the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex, 1 in Austin, and 1 in San Antonio. 5 clinics to serve about 30 million people. It wasn't an effort to protect women. It was trying to exploit a legal loophole to close clinics and limit the reproductive rights of Texans. On June 25th, 2013, 16-year-old Alex was watching the live stream of the Texas Senate hearing with rapt attention. I was learning on the fly about the misogyny in the Texas Senate. Previous filibusters had been allowed to read children's books, sit down, etc., but none of those senators were female, and also about the politics around abortion. In a time where many people are sitting and asking themselves, what will radicalize me? Let me point to that moment in time and say that moment radicalized me. It dawned on me that, surprise, surprise, Texas wasn't a monolith, and there were people on the ground trying to change things. Senator Davis was one of the major reasons I committed to my small, social justice-oriented liberal arts university in Austin, not UT. Almost 10 years later, on June 24th, 2022, I was at work, still in Austin, still in Texas, 3 years post-college graduation. I was about to discover that one of my least favorite parts of being an adult is how often world-changing news seems to break during normal business hours. My boss at the time, Lauren, and I were 2 out of 3 women who worked at this small company. One of the first things we bonded over was a mutual hatred for Greg Abbott, the Texas governor, and a love of NPR. So there we are at work, and we'd been anxiously refreshing news sites since the Dobbs decision was leaked. Do you know that weird, hot, tingly feeling you get right before you're gonna throw up? That was the wave we were riding while actively trying to do our jobs. We're extremely fortunate that here in Illinois and many other blue states across the country, where we have state and local government to provide a bubble of protection from what I can only think to call malicious shenanigans, whereas in Texas, we knew that we'd be looking at an immediate trigger ban on abortions, most likely with no exception in cases of rape or incest. Governor Abbott was and is always willing to enact the newest oppressive legislation pushed forth by Republicans at the national level. Eventually, Lauren went out back to our dock for a break in the doom scrolling. She'd been gone about less than 5 minutes when the frantic refreshing paid off, and the New York Times Instagram broke the news. I raced out the back door to find her, and I really had planned on trying to soften the blow, but what ended up leaving my mouth was a run of frantic words followed by me thrusting my phone in her face. She said, "I wish you had told me literally anything else." We sat in the hot Texas summer sun, chain smoking and crying because frankly, we didn't know what else to do. There is no handbook on what to do when your rights have been taken away. The most alarming part of that day was having to go back to work and assume business as usual. I'm not being hyperbolic when I say we were the only two people who cared that our reality had changed. I remember Lauren telling another coworker who has a young daughter, and his reply was, "Wow, that's rough," and then asked if we were ready for an upcoming meeting. On my way home from work, I told a friend to come over so we wouldn't be trying to process what felt like the end of the world alone. We did the only thing that we could think of. We marathoned MTV's Catfish and split an ice cream cake. Hearing about a state not having an exception for rape or incest is one thing. Suddenly standing in that state is another. Suddenly people are looking into stockpiling Plan B, looking into IUD options in the event that they came for birth control next, and planning to save up on PTO in case of emergency. I think for myself, growing up in Wisconsin, I thought Roe was safe. Something that had been in place for so long, challenged but stood strong, would not or could not get overturned. The repercussions became evident fast. There were people protesting, people publicly celebrating, and a lot of people wondering where to go from here, literally. If the ethical move was to leave Texas for a safer state in which to raise a family, or just to have a uterus themselves. For me, the immediate impact was a 2-hour wait on the phone with my doctor's office to schedule a consultation for medical sterilization. The procedure was something I'd been thinking about for a while. I have a couple of degenerative health issues that don't lend themselves to pregnancy. And honestly, the entire idea of pregnancy kind of wigs me out, but maybe that's just because I saw clips from Alien when I was in grade school. I made the decision to have the surgery because I, at the time, was married and thinking that I would live in Texas for the rest of my life. So if something happened and my IUD had failed, I'd just be screwed. Also, my neurologist at the time no longer wanted to prescribe me a type of medication for my migraines until after my sterilization surgery because, quote, it wasn't safe for pregnancy, which was honestly a baffling thing to have a doctor say to my face. 2 weeks ago, Rabbi Lizzie spoke about the 1/5 of Israelites who left Egypt with Moses and asked a really great question. Why didn't the remaining 4/5 also go? What was keeping them there? Why would you elect to stay in a place that was once openly hostile towards your existence? Well, I can't tell you why they stayed, but I can tell you why I didn't immediately leave. I had a partner who didn't want to move. All of my friends live in Austin. I had my job, and I couldn't just go. In fact, the only reason I'm here talking to you right now is because I got divorced and laid off in that order. And now I'm in Chicago. I moved here and started at Mishkan back in August, right before the high holidays. I'm in a city that's proud of its connections to reproductive rights history. I'm in a community with people who value human rights and bodily autonomy. I'm back in a place where I don't feel like I have to fight to be seen as a whole human. I'm the contingency plan in case my friends in Texas need an abortion. I wish I could close on something that was universally comforting about where we go from here. Call your senators and congresspeople, support organizations like the Chicago Abortion Fund that are doing the work to help people across the country get access to abortions and reproductive care. And thank you for Rabbi Lizzie and oh my God! Rabbi Lizzie and Rabbi Stephen for having me. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Alex.
Hello,
Thank
can
you.
everyone hear me okay? Am I good to go?
You're good to go.
Amazing. Hello, everyone. First of all, sorry, I have all these things up here to...
You want a mic stand?
No. I'm all good. Hello, everyone. My name's Alicia. I'm here with the Chicago Abortion Fund. At CAF, I am the Director of Advocacy and Communications, but I've been with CAF for a little over 4 years now and started as an intern, actually moved here from Texas, so great to hear some anti-Texas slander in terms of the people. There's great people in
and to
Texas.
everyone who's a Mishkanite watching in Texas, we have at least one family. We love you.
Yes, we love Texas. We love Texas. We hate the politicians in Texas, many of the politicians in Texas. But yes, I'm so grateful that we were invited, we being CAF, and me, being me, were invited to come speak today. As you can imagine, it's been a really hard time to be doing this work, really for the last 2 years, but even beyond that. There's been a slow erosion that we really saw this point coming for quite some time. And so I really do think it's these moments that make me feel more grounded, make me feel more hopeful, and just allow me to see that there's such a vibrant community of people who are standing with us as we're supporting people through what are just truly horrific barriers to accessing basic health care. But I'm going to start on the remarks that I wrote because I could talk all day if I didn't read them directly from a script. But just in case some of y'all don't know about the Chicago Abortion Fund, we are Illinois' statewide abortion fund. We've been in existence for 40 years now. It's our 40th anniversary. And we provide financial, logistical, and emotional support for people who are facing barriers to abortion care. And that looks like coordinating funding to fill appointment cost gaps, booking travel via plane, bus, or train, supporting with lodging, providing direct assistance for gas money, childcare, contraceptives, pain medications, heat pads, and really just at the end of the day, holding someone from point A to point B to sometimes point C to make sure that they can access the abortion care that they want and need and deserve. Really, I think just level setting values-wise, nobody should have to navigate any arduous financial or logistical barriers to accessing abortion care. They should not have to leave their community for common health care, and nobody should have to weigh decisions about affording basic necessities for themselves or their families against affording health care that will shape their futures. But unfortunately, the reality is that many people are making these tough decisions, and many people, primarily across the South and the Midwest, are relying on Illinois to access the abortion care that they want. And we at CAF have been seeing people last year alone, we fielded 16,000 support requests on our helpline. These people came from 40 states across the country. Some of the top states that we were seeing folks from were Indiana, Illinois, and Texas. And Illinois has actually fielded the highest increase in abortions post-Dobbs. So we're fielding the highest amount of people who are being forced to travel out of state for health care. This is higher than the next 2 states combined. So Florida and Texas have just under 20,000 increase in abortions, and Illinois has fielded an increase of 42,000 post-Dobbs, and that's only with the most recent counts, so I can't even imagine now that Florida has a 6-week ban what the new numbers will be. That's all to say, we, over the last 5 years, have not had to turn away a single person who was relying on Illinois for the support that they needed. And we're really proud to be doing this work supported by our community so that we don't have to turn folks away, and also to be doing this work in Illinois specifically. Illinois did not become this national access point by accident. It took a lot of hard work and advocacy and busting abortion stigma from folks before me at CAF, as well as advocates, elected officials who were champions of the work, folks in our communities advocating for abortion access and telling their stories. And at CAF, I think the really central pillar to what we do every day is making sure that all of the protections that we have worked so hard to build here in Illinois are not just accessible to the people who can afford to pay for care and afford to travel to our state. And just to share a bit of, I guess, just snapshots of the people that we're supporting. It's really, I like to say there's not one story on our helpline. Clearly there's over 16,000 stories on our helpline, and that means that we support folks from all walks of life, all backgrounds, all experiences. I've supported a mom and her daughter flying from Texas to pick up abortion pills in the state of Illinois after Dobbs fell. I supported a CPS high school student who was on her parents' insurance and wasn't really sure where she could go to access care in a private way. I supported a family that had just moved to Illinois and they couldn't afford to raise another child in the midst of all the expenses of moving. I supported a nursing student who was so angry on the phone with me that she had to go to another state. She was studying in Indiana, and she just couldn't believe that she had to leave her state to access healthcare when she was training to become a healthcare professional in the state where she lived. At CAF, I've supported people who are younger than me, older than me, students, teachers, parents, even grandparents. I've helped people from my home state of Texas, and I even helped someone who was born in the same town that I grew up in. Abortion is common and essential health care. We always like to say that everyone loves someone who's had an abortion. 1 in 4 people who can get pregnant will have an abortion in their lifetime. So if you know more than 4 people who can get pregnant, you know someone who's had an abortion. And it's really crucial in this time that we support people from all walks of life who just can't afford hundreds or even thousands of dollars to overcome the myriad of barriers that exist today to access abortion in this country. I want to close by saying that abortion is a family issue, it's an economic justice issue, a racial justice issue, and it's also a community responsibility when so many people are being failed by their elected officials. And that while we work to actualize the long-term fixes that we need for people to access care in their own communities, to access affordable and affirming abortion care, we owe it to our neighbors and to people who might not have considered themselves our neighbors in places as far as Tennessee and Florida and Texas, but who are relying on us now to be a strong community and continue to be there for them when they need us most. I'm so, so grateful to be here, like I mentioned earlier. I'm so grateful that a Repro Shabbat even exists. As someone who grew up Catholic, I am always just so in awe by the longstanding support that the Jewish community has shown for reproductive rights and access, and the fact that I can be in a faith space and talk about my work openly is just so healing for me. And really now more than ever, it's just so awe-inspiring and hopeful to be in community spaces where I can look around and see people nodding when I say, abortion is healthcare, abortion is common, and abortion should be something that anybody who wants it is something that they can access. I would love to talk with folks if you're interested in getting involved. There's little cards sprinkled around that you can pick up and learn more about the Chicago Abortion Fund, but you can also visit chicagoabortionfund.org. We have a huge campaign coming up where we're trying to raise $300,000 directly to pay for abortion care, as well as travel needs for our callers by May 31st. So if you're interested in being involved in that, there's a lot of trainings, community mobilizations, things of that nature. It's called the Fundathon. We would also love to have folks be monthly sustainers if that's something that you can work into your regular commitments. But also we just need more unapologetic abortion access supporters, people who are loud. I can't even tell you how many folks I've worked with where they don't have anyone in their community to turn to. They don't know who they can ask for support. They don't know who they could ask for a ride. They don't know who they could ask to watch their kids. And just knowing that in this room, I see people who would be there for their communities and would be there for someone that I was working with. It's really beautiful. And I really just encourage everyone to be loud and proud about your support for abortion access, because you never know who might in the future need your support. So thank you so much. And again, it's an honor to be here.